Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is continuing the power of now, the guide to spiritual enlightenment. Continue on to chapter 8, part 3 for enlightened relationships for the power of now. I'm going to continue on from here. So to strengthen or protect the ego, or to get its needs met, will then become redundant. Giving space to others and yourself is vital. Love cannot flourish without it. When you remove the two factors that are destructive of relationships, when the pain body has been transmuted, you are no longer identified with mind and mental positions, and if your partner has done the same, you will experience the bliss of flowering of the relationship. Instead of mirroring each other of your pain and your subconsciousness, instead of satisfying with your mutual addicted ego's needs, you will need to reflect back to each other's of the love that feel deep within. The love that comes with the realization of oneness that with all that is. This is love that has no opposite. If your partner is to identify with the mind and the painted body, while you're already free, this will represent a major challenge, not to you, but your partner. It is not easy to live with an enlightenment person, but rather it's so easy ego finds extremely threatening.
Okay. Remember that ego needs problems, conflicts, and enemies to strengthen the sense of the separateness on which entities depend. The unenlightened partner's mind will become frustrated because its positions are not raised, which means they will become shaky and weak. and there is even a danger that will maybe collapse altogether, resulting in the loss of self. The pain body of the demanding feedback and not giving it. The needs of arguments, dramas, and conflicts is not being met. But beware, some people who are unresponsive, withdrawn, insensitive, or cut off from their feelings may think or try to convince others that they are enlightened, or at least that there is nothing wrong with them and everything wrong with their partners. The men tend to do more than the women. They may see their female partners as irrational or emotional. But if you can feel your emotional, you are not far from the radiant inner body, both underneath. If you are mainly in your head, and this is much greater, and you need to bring consciousness to enter the emotional body before you can reach the inner body. If there isn't an emotional of love and joy, complete presence and openness towards all beings, then it is not enlightenment. Another indicator is how the person's behaviors is difficult or challenging situations or when things goes wrong. If your enlightenment is ego itself, delusions, then life will soon give you a challenge that will bring out your unconsciousness in whatever form, as fear, anger, defensiveness, judgments, depressions, and so on. If you are in a relationship, many of your challenges will come through your partner.
Come on, put it.
For example, a woman may be challenged by an unresponsive male's partner who lives almost entirely in his head. She will be challenged by his inability to hear her and give her attention to the space to be, which is due to his lack of presence. The absence of love in the relationship, which is usually more needingly felt by the woman than a man, will trigger the woman's pain bodies, and through it she will attack her partner, blame, criticize, make wrong, and so on. This in turn now becomes his challenge to defend himself against her pain body attacks, which he sees as totally unwarranted. He will become more deeply interested in the mental positions and justifies defends himself and counter attacks. Eventually, this may activate his own pain body when both partners have thus been taken over. A level of deep unconsciousness has been reached of emotions, violence, established attack and counterattack. It will not subside until both body pains have replenished themselves and then enter the dormant stage until the next time. This is the only one of endless numbers of possible scenarios. Many volumes has been written and many more could be written about the ways in which unconsciousness is brought out of the male and female's relationship. But as I said earlier, once you understand the root of dysfunctions, you do not need to explore the countless manifestations. Let's briefly look again to the scenario I have just described. Every challenge that it contains is actually a disguised opportunity for salvation. At every stage of the unfolding dysfunctional process, freedom from unconsciousness is possible. For example, the woman's hospitality could become a symbol for the man to become out of his mind's identified state. Awakening into the now becomes present. Instead of becoming even more identified with his mind, even more unconsciousness. Instead of being the pain body, the woman could be the knowing that watches the emotional pains in herself, thus accessing the power of the now and initiating the transmutations of the pain. This would remove the compulsiveness and automatic outward projects of it. She could then express her feelings to her partner. Then it is not guaranteed. Of course, that he will listen, but it gives him a good chance to become a presence and certainly breaks into insane cycles of involuntary acting out of old mind patterns. If the women's this is the opportunities the man could wish to watch his own mental emotional reactions to her pain. His own his own defensiveness, rather than being the reactions, he could then watch his own pain body being triggered and thus bring consciousness into emotion. This is the way a clear and still space of pure awarenesses could come into being, and the knowing and silences witnesses the watcher. This awareness does not deny the pain and yet is beyond it. It allows the pain to be yet transmuted into the same time. It accepts everything and transforms everything. A door would have opened up for her through which she could easily join him in that space. If you are constantly or at least predominantly present in your relationship, this will be the greatest challenge for your partner. They will not be able to tolerate your presence for very long and stay unconsciously. If you are already, then you will walk through the door that you open for them and join you in that state. If you are not, you will separate them like oil and water. The light is too painful for someone who wants to remain in darkness.
Why women are closer to enlightenment? Are the obstacles of enlightenment the same for a man as for a woman? Yes. But the emphasis is different. Generally speaking, it is easier for a woman to feel and be in her body. She is naturally closer to being, which is she closer to enlightenment than a man. This is why many ancient cultures distinctly chose female figures or analogies to represent to describe the formless transcendental reality. It was often seen as a womb that gives birth to everything in creation and sustains, nourishes it during its life as form. In the Tao Te Ching, one of the most ancient, profound books ever written was Tao, which can be translated as being. It's described as infinite, eternal, present, the mother of the universe. Naturally, women are closer to the men since they virtually embody that and manifested. What is more, that all creatures and things that must be eventually returned to the source. All things vanish into the Tao. It alone endures since the source as a female represented the light and the dark sides of the article feminine in psychology and mythology. The goddess of mother has divine of two aspects. She gives the life and she takes the life. When the mind took of the humans, the lost touched the reality of their divine essence. They started to think of God as a male figure. Society became male dominated and female was made subordinate to male. I am not suggesting a return to earlier female representations of the divine. Some people now use the term goddess instead of God. They are readdressing the balance between male and female that was lost a long time ago. And all that is good. But is it still representation a misconcept, perhaps temporarily useful, just as the map of the signpost is temporarily useful, but more of a hindrance than a help when you are ready to realize the reality beyond all the concepts and images which remain true. However, is that the energy frequency of the mind appears to be essential male, the mind resists, fights for control, uses, manipulates, attacks, tries to grasp, and possesses, and so on. This is why the traditional God is so patriarchal, controlling authority figure, and often an angry man who should live in fear, as an Old Testament suggests. This God is a projection of the human mind. To go beyond the mind and reconnect the deeper reality into being, very different qualities are needed: surrender, non-judgmental, and openness that allows the life to be, instead of resisting its capacity, of hold all things of loving embrace of your knowing. All these qualities are much more closely related to the female principle, whereas mind energy is hard and rigid. Being energy is soft and yielding, and yet infinitely more powerful than the mind. The mind runs our civilization, whereas being is a charge of all life on the planet and beyond. Being a very intelligent, whose visible manifestation is the physical universe, although women are potentially closer to the men. Men can access it within themselves. At this time, the vast majority of men, as well as the women, are still great in the grip of the mind, identified with the thinker of the pain body. This is a force of events prevents enlightenment and flowering of the love. As a general rule, the major obstacle for the men tends to be the thinking mind, and the major obstacle for the women is the pain body, although certain individuals' cases the opposite may be true, and in the others, the two factors may be equal.
Dissolving the collective female's pain body. Why is the pain body more of an obstacle for women? The pain body usually has collectives as well as the personal aspects. The personal aspect is a accumulated residues of emotional pain suffers in one's own past. The collectives, one is the pain of accumulated in the collective human psyche or thousands of years through disease, tortures, wars, murders, cruelties, madness, and so on. Everyone's personal body pain also partakes of this collective pain body. There are different stands of the collective body pain. For example, certain places in countries in which extreme forms of stress and violence occurs have a heavier collective pain body than others. Anyone with a strong pain body and not enough consciousness is identified from as well, not only consciously or periodically. To relieve their emotion. I have a mouth. Which is the opposite of the truth. It is the belief of other people and what they did to you are responsible for you or now. For your emotional pain and inherent ability to be yours true self. The truth is that the only power there is contained within this moment. It is the power of your presence. Once you know that, you also realize that you are responsible for your inner space now. Anybody else is, and that is the past cannot prevails against the power of the now. So identifications. Prevents you from dealing with the pain body. Some women who are already conscious enough to have relinquished their victim's identity into the person's levels are still holding on the collective victim's identity. What men did to women? They are right, and they are also wrong. They are right in some of the collective females' pain bodies in large part due to the male violence inflicted on women and repressions of the female principles throughout the planet for miming me out. They are wrong if they derive the sense of self from this fact that therapy keeps themselves in prison to collect these riches and victims. If a woman is still holding on to anger, resentment, and condemnation, she is holding on to her pain and fire. This may give her the comforting sense of unease and solidarity in other women, but it is also keeping their bondage to the past, adopting full access to her incense of true power. If women include themselves from men, that fosters a sense of separation and therefore a strengthening of their ego. And the stronger the ego, the more distance you are from your true nature.
Okay, everyone, that is the end of the chapter 8. Gonna have be part 4 of chapter 8, almost done with chapter 8. This is the Power of Now, Spiritual Guides Alignment, so read it. It's really good for soul connections, twin flame soulmate soul connections, to read this book here by Eckhart Tolle. We'll continue the chapter later on. Namaste.